Of you. Thank you. Thank you, Anand. I and actually, we had a kind of inclination to look and bump into the atypical all the time. So that's why we put together this course some time back. And I want to say first that I don't have any financial interest in the subject. Most of the pictures and case studies I've used here are based on my work at Arvind Eye Care, my alma mater. I'll be discussing only some common diseases like central serous chorioretinopathy, age-related macular degeneration, macular telangiectasia, and one thing I've actually stolen from Dr. Mahesh, X-ray retinoschisis. I remember one postgraduate actually asking when I was doing a retina fellowship that central serous retinopathy must be the simplest disease to diagnose. And I remember in retrospect that when I look at these cases, I can't remember with help remember with a smile actually, because it is one of the most misdiagnosed diseases in spite of being extremely common. And all the diagnostic dilemmas occur with chronic CSC, which is very common in the Asians. So what do we confuse it with? We confuse it with exudative AMD, with exudative retinal detachment, with chorioretinitis, with CNV of any etiology, with retinitis pigmentosa, and believe it or not, even with orbis pit, maculopathy, and even some tumors. So let's start actually, and if you look at the picture first, I could have made more dramatic, do you have a pointer here? Yeah. So I could have used only this picture. If you look at this, most people, an untrained eye will call it a choroiditis. However, if you do an angiography, you don't see the pattern of choroiditis. Choroiditis should initially give you a hyperfluorescence followed by hyperfluorescence or staining of the lesion. Here you see a pinpoint leakage which is enlarging later. So it's a classic ink blot pattern of chronic CSCR. And fluorescein angiography is enough to clarify our doubts. This is a more severe picture. A level 2 case would have probably gone to Dr. Ratnam. This patient has received multiple doses of heavy steroids because he was diagnosed with exudative detachment and developed subretinal fibrosis, uveitis syndrome kind of picture with infused detachment. A simple fluorescein angiography again shows the pinpoint leaks, and this patient responded very well to simple laser treatment. And it was obviously a chronic central serous chorioretinopathy aggravated by use of oral steroid for a long time. However, fluorescein angiography is not the panacea for all cases. In this case, it looked like a classic CSCR. Angiography actually confused us. It showed a picture which looked like a CNVM. So we thought it was probably CNVM secondary to CSCR. Now the problem is CNVM develops in CSCR only when it is chronic, and this looks like an acute. So what's the confusion? The confusion was resolved when we looked at the OCT. OCT showed that there was an attachment of the retina by some fibrin strands to the PED, and this was distorting what was classically an ink blot leak, smokestack leak into this atypical picture. So how did we find it out? We did a transpupillary thermotherapy for this patient on this leak. So when it was about to resolve, in the intermediate phase, we saw that the detachment persisted, but the PED resolved, and at this phase, when we repeated the angiography, we saw the classic smokestack. So we knew that the CSCR and ultimately resolved completely. We published this case in I 2008. Now here's another type of case which looks like a typical CSCR clinically, but FFA shows something unusual. It looks like an RP decomposing or something. So we're not sure what we're dealing with, acute CSR or chronic CSR or something else. Again, do an OCT and boom, you see something else. So what do you look at? This is this may look like still a CSCR to an untrained eye, but this is actually an opertus pit. You can see the pit here, and this is the schiasis. So when you see this kind of pattern, especially on the nasal side adjoining the disc, it is always a schiasis, opertus pit maculopathy, even if you don't see the pit. So if you go back and look at the disc, it looks like there is either a central pit or there is an occult pit. This has been described by Spade, and we have seen that this now the treatment for this is surgical and not by laser or PDT or anything else. Sometimes just taking a careful look at the fundus itself tells you the story. So these cases were diagnosed as iridomacular degeneration, this has sectoral retinitis pigmentosa, and this has Stargardt disease. If you look carefully, you see the PEDs here. Of course, if you do the angiography, as I've shown before, you can confirm it. And if you look at the inferior retina, you can see the teardrop tract in this case. So you can make out that these are not the typical iridomacular degenerations. Of course, we should always look at the fellow eye and see if the pattern is completely different, then it is not a iridomacular degeneration. Now this is a Price case. It was referred to us as an amelanotic melanoma. So You don't see the elevation, but it was quite elevated, this area. So it was looking like amyloid melanoma. When I did an angiography, we saw a pattern which looked like a rip. But when you do an OCT, it didn't look like a rip at all. It was an extremely large PED which was thinned out because of the chronicity. Later on, we saw another case which was similar, and this confirmed that this we published in OSLI in 2008. So it was just a CSR, chronic CSR with a huge PED, which because of the chronicity had a denudation of the RPE. So how do we sum up the diagnostic dilemma of CSCR? Look at the patient age and sex. If it is a young male, it is likely to be a CSCR. If it is an old male or female patient, it is likely to be an exudative AMD. If there is a history of off and on recurrences, then it is likely to be CSCR. Always proactively ask any patient with serious detachment a history of steroids. Sometimes there is an indirect history. You can ask the patient not about steroid, but whether he has asthma, arthritis, eczema, or any other indication where he is using steroids either by spray, by skin ointment, or oral route. There should be a lack of family history which can rule out all those hereditary degenerations. Looking at the fellow eye, it can show you the PEDs in many cases. Looking at the inferior retina can show you the tract, as I will show again. And finally, just fluorescein angiography and OCT are enough to clinch diagnosis in most cases. Let's move on to age-related macular degeneration. So now again, you thought that AMD is such a simple diagnosis. It's one of the most common things we see after all. Drusen and exudative AMD is so obvious. Actually, if you see these differential diagnoses I have written here are not written from any book. They are from my personal experience. So these are all the differentials with which the cases were referred to us. If you notice, chronic CSCR is a differential diagnosis at all stages of disease, be it early or intermediate, geographic atrophy, or exudative AMD. So other differentials are, as we go along, we'll tell you about it. This case looked like drusen. Again, classic drusen. Fluorescein angiography shows that there are soft leaks or ooze. So now we know that when you have chronic CSCR, you may not always have the classic ink blot or smokestack leak. You may sometimes have a soft leak or ooze actually, which is not very clinically evident, and this term was given by the Mr. Makla Lawrence Yanuzzi. Sometimes the drusen looks symmetric, bilaterally symmetric, and the keys, this patient is younger, and they are also extending on the nasal side. If you look at the family in these cases, you can find the answer. So it's a dominant drusen. These cases can develop CNVM later on, but this is not ARMD. So this again is a report we have published in the Journal of Genetics, and this is the dominant drusen. So the brother and the family are both affected. So this is the brother side, this is the parent side. Again, this case looks like an intermediate AMD. You can see what looks like a large soft drusen, and again some drusen here. Now the catch is you can see some CSCR kind of picture here. Now this is surprisingly not CSCR nor it is AMD. If you look at the picture here, it is not actually a detachment of the retina. There is a splitting of the RPE, right? And you can see this is neither a PDD nor a CS detachment. And you find a similar picture in the fellow eye also. So when we do an EOG in this patient and examine the family or ask the family history, we confirm that this is actually nothing else but Best disease. So Best disease can also look like, adult vitelliform Best disease can look a lot like CSCR or AMD. Now this case could look like geographic atrophy, and this is how it was diagnosed, but now when you have a very surprisingly good visual acuity, you should always think of other things. So in this case, the good visual acuity, again we did an angiography, which you normally don't do in atrophic AMD, and we found the leaks, which are clearly demarcating the cause as CSCR. Sometimes just the clinical examination, as I showed earlier, can show you a classic teardrop tract. Now this, when you have this tract, actually it's almost nothing else but CSCR, confirming the clinical suspicion. There is another case which looked at exudative AMD to us. Angiography was very non-committal. We did not know it could be exudative AMD, or that is fibrovascular PED or something else. Now again on OCT we see a serious detachment kind of picture, but again there is a splitting of the RPE and there is no CNVM actually. So if you have an exudative AMD like this, you should have a big fibrovascular PED. So you don't see any fibrovascular PED here. So this is again a case of adult onset vitelliform dystrophy. So for differential diagnosis of AMD, the patient age may not be always helpful to differentiate from CSCR, because nowadays it is seen even in older people, and thanks to the increasing testosterone in the modern women, it is seen in women also. So you have to always correlate the picture with the visual loss, like in the case of geographic atrophy. OCT and angiography again clinch diagnosis in most cases. Sometimes just looking at the inferior retinal periphery can show you the teardrop tract, and always ask the leading question about the family history, drug history, and systemic disease. Now, one of my favorite differentials is macular telangiectasia, especially type 2. Now, the disease itself is like syphilis, it's a great mimic, and it looks like anything but telangiectasia. Gass was first to point out that, and he called it rightly occult macular telangiectasia, the type 2. So, it can look like AMD, CSC, heredomacular degeneration, BRVO, radiation retinopathy, even tamoxifen retinopathy for breast cancer treatment. So, this is a case which looks like CSCR or drusen. And on angiography, you can see the classic telangiectasia in the mid-AV phase and the classic leakage in the late phase. Similarly, this case looks like a MACTEL with a pigment plaque, but again you can see a tract in the lower part, and this comes out to be a CSCR. We have a very large number of cases of macular telangiectasia which were referred as bullseye maculopathy. Some of them come with even ERG, which is invariably normal, and other color vision fields and other investigations. If you just do a fluorescein angiography, you can see the cause. You can see the classic telangiectasia in the mid-AV phase and the classic leakage in the late phase. Recently, we have got another clue to the diagnosis of CSCR. In spite of the classic leakage, when you do an OCT in these cases, almost invariably you do not find any detachment or edema, you find an atrophy. So when you have this classic correlation of the leakage, intense leakage and atrophy, think of macular telangiectasia. So even in diabetic, especially important in diabetic patients, because a lot of patients with MACTEL actually are diabetic. So sometimes you can have diabetic macular edema along with macular telangiectasia. And where to laser, where not to laser is clearly demarcated by looking at the areas of atrophy and the areas of edema. So edema you laser, atrophy do not. Now let's come to external retinoschisis. It has got again a long list of differential diagnoses, even though it's a very classic picture. When you look at the classic picture, it looks like a cystoid macular edema in a young child. But when atypical can look like ROP, and inverse macular dragging, Coats disease, resolved chororetinitis, AMD, dominant drusen, Ovich disease, and even settled retinal detachment. So sometimes we have seen these cases where there is severe retinal dragging, and when it is temporal, it may confuse us with the ROP, but you can see this classic dendritifying pattern of atrophy in external retinoschisis, and you can also see the vitreous veils. Now, the vitreous veils are seen here, but if you look at this case, you can see that the direction of dragging is nasal. So you almost never have nasal dragging in ROP. So when you have a nasal dragging, this is very typical of actually external retinoschisis. This was first described by Bill Tasman. We have also seen patients which look very atypical, like this macular fold, like this extensive chororetinal scar, a settled RD, exudative RD, and again a chororetinal scar on this side. So how do you clinch diagnosis in these cases? One simple thing is to think about it. The patient is young, take the family history. There's another patient which looks like a mild or a very severe form of Coats disease. Now this, most people call it a Coats disease. The simple way to diagnose is look at the fellow eye. Sometimes the fellow eye shows you, like in this case, the classic diagnosis. Another thing we found to be surprisingly useful, and we published our results in AJO 2007, that the OCT gives you the diagnostic clues not only in the fellow eye but also sometimes in the involved eye. You can see the cystic clefts, which are very classic patterns of scaches. Now do not confuse the scaches with macular edema. Macular edema looks something different. There is a complete splitting of the retina along a plane. In macular edema you have got the cyst formations. So we had the diagnosis confirmed by, in all cases by OCT, but we obviously confirmed by ERG, by the family examination, and we double checked by genetic evaluation. So there is another case. Now these external retinoschisis cases can become old, right? They will age ultimately. So how will the external retinoschisis appear in them? Will it remain the scaches or will it become something? We learned when we looked at this case, it was diagnosed as early AMD or drusen. When it did an OCT, one eye looked like atrophy, so it didn't give any clue, but it was completely atrophic. But the other eye had a classic pattern of XLR. Now later on we learned, when I did the autofluorescence, and learned that this is the classic pattern of chronic external retinoschisis. This exaggerated hyposignals in the macula. So if you have the signal on autofluorescence, if you have autofluorescence, this is diagnostic of external retinoschisis, even in an old patient. And of course, he had a classic negative ERG, so this we published last year, year before last in IGO. So how do we diagnose sectional retinoschisis? They are typically young male patients, but these young patients will become old later on. So old patients may not have foveal schisis. Look at the fellow eye, take the family history, especially examine the mamas, the maternal uncles and the nephews, the bhanjas, and look at the OCT and the ERG. This will be confirming. So take home summary from this presentation is, we should look hard at the patient's age, symptoms and the family. Take a detailed history, ask leading questions when required like perinatal history, radiation, systemic disease and tumors. Investigate judiciously. FFA and OCT suffice in most cases. Electrophysiological tests are only rarely required. Do not jump to treatment without a diagnosis because misdiagnosis can be fatal. Thank you very much.